Today is Wednesday, January 10th, 2018. And I've been searching through the internet and seeing a lot of videos of people with a lot of opinions. And I've been noticing that those opinions cause a lot of divisions. And so I've been wondering, well, where do, all these opinions and divisions come from? And what's the point of all of this? Is there anything that can connect people? And I began to see that, this process of trying to find your individuality often is conflicting with those who want to find a unity. And this goes back into even tribal history. The tribes that wanted to form unities and the tribes that wanted to maintain their individualities. So, what's the beginning of all this? How did this all begin? And I begin to think, in terms of science and physics, and they're searching for the beginning. They've found what they call a yotosecond now, which is a trillionth of a second. It's very fast, but they can keep dividing time, but time is infinitely divisible, because it's mathematics, and time is also, infinitely expandable. So it takes me to this idea that there was a point of origin, an absolute point in a non-dualistic world. There was no duality. There was just singularity. Not the singularity that they talk about now. It was absolute. No one could tell how big the point of origin was or how small the point of origin was because there was no observer to the point of origin, right? Everything that observed happened after, the primary division of the point of origin. So I'm thinking, well, what enabled such a division? And people say, well, when they talk about dimensions, they talk about single dimension. Everything is flat. But I'm talking about a dimension that comes even before everything is flat. Everything is just a point. And in order to divide, a point into 2 points, there has to be space. There has to be a space, between point A and point B in order to get from point A to point B. And getting from point A to point B is time, So people would think that space creates time, but no, really time creates space. Because time spins. That's why it can be a trillionth of a second, and it can be eons in the making. Time spins, right? So this point of origin, this beginning, let's say it created the first duality. Let's say it created the first other. So you have self and other. Certainly, this other was able to be created with free will. The other has free will. What gives anybody free will is time. Not the state, not time. Because at any moment you can choose, right? So you have free will, right? So time created all these individualities, forms and forces of individuality, of expressions, of itself, in order to see itself. So time, evolved, or created um, eyes to see, ears to hear, noses to smell, mouths to taste, and tongues to taste, and mouths to speak, and feet to walk, and arms, And we think we're alone in this, but if you look at certainly the animal kingdom, you'll see many with 2 eyes and 2 ears, and 1 nose with 2 nostrils, 1 mouth, 1 tail, 1 asshole. Many living things are all the same, So this point of origin, time, actually gives you your individuality. Time gives you the free will for your own individuality. But since we all came from time, then there's a unity there. There's a unity with every other self that came from time. And self is not just, humans. Self is, the plants have a self. Because the plants evolve. So what are they evolving? They're evolving to protect the self of the plant. It's an identity. Time, gives you a space in order to create an identity, And all these identities, are the will of time, It's actually your own individual will plus the will of time. That's the whole point. The point is, we all come from the same primary division. If you look at nature, you have 1 seed that creates millions of seeds, billions of seeds, right? 1 form of life gives life to many, This is what nature shows, right? So the point is that we are all equal in time. Some people, they try to steal your time and make your time their own time. Now, it doesn't mean, that out of your own free will you can't agree to spend your time building somebody else's boat. That can happen. And it depends on the agreement, you can enjoy the fruits of it. But to try and dominate somebody else's time, to try and dominate somebody else's free will, the whole of history is full of the bloody violence of those who are trying to control what is absolutely impossible to control. Everybody's time, right? You can't try to control what is impossible to control. Even if you're Caesar, Hitler, Alexander the Great, People agree to ideas, and then ideas have power, But people always have a free will because time gives them a free will to agree with the idea or to disagree with the idea. If they disagree with your idea, it doesn't matter. It's a war of ideas. And in a war of ideas, the ideas can battle. And because we want to kill the bad ideas, to free people from the bad ideas, but we don't kill people. Because life is precious. Because if time, is trying to show us anything that matters, is that life is precious. I'll talk about this more later, but I just wanted to say that, when you're seeing all these opinions and conspiracies, they're all true. Every one of the conspiracies is true. In somebody's mind, in somebody's mind. But what connects us all together is much deeper than that. And as, the society that we see falls because it has been corrupted, You know, we shouldn't be afraid that it rightfully is falling, you know, because what will emerge will be, you know, all of our will, you know, it will be everybody's will in time, you know, that we can agree on. If we can't agree on it, it won't emerge.